you, or rather Surge, was one of the very first IT companies to peg the salaries to the dollar, right? We're going to be talking about that.
Yep.
And we're also going to be talking about the pros and cons of it, how you do it, why you did it, what's the thought process behind it. Just last week, we had the first female chairperson of SLASSCOM in the studio with us. We posed this question, and this is what she had to say. So take a look at it. So some of the companies, basically right now, one of course is what is a so-called controversial. Some of the companies are holding back their talent and not falling into this brain drain, is pegging their salaries to the dollar.
Yeah.
And this, of course, is working. I mean, lots of the IT companies are doing this. Firstly, let me ask you, what is SLASSCOM's position in pegging their salaries into according to the dollar?
So, Shak, we actually don't encourage it.
Okay.
We would think that the better way to go around it would be to come up with something like an inflation allowance or a hardship allowance, which is paid in rupees for time bound.
Right.
And that way, at the end of that time period, you can always see whether you need to extend it further or not.
Right. Right.
So that would be one of the best practices we've seen.
Right.
But also, out of some companies lose more people than others.
Yeah.
And out of sheer desperation of trying to retain their experienced and good talent, they have had to peg to either the dollar or the euro, or Australian dollars, sometimes US dollars. Depending on with which countries they do business. At the point in time they did this, I suppose a lot of these companies didn't think about how the end game will play out.
Long-term effect.
Long-term, right? Then they wouldn't have thought about it.
Right.
But when this started happening, everyone was desperate and everyone else joined the bandwagon.
Right.
So there's unfortunately quite a few of the companies that are doing this.
Right.
But the problem is also, it just puts the market in a very difficult situation, right? The prices are going to go up over time. You don't really know when to quit and how to ring fence this whole situation, right? And think about the companies, like the local companies that have their tech talent.
That's right.
They're the ones who are suffering the most.
That's
because
right.
they're just going to be giving up their talent at a higher price, and these guys are all going to move in.
Right. So there you go. That's Sandra. Sandra, of course, is the first female chairperson of SLASSCOM. She's in the studio with us, and this is something that we spoke to her extensively. What do you think?
She's incredibly wrong.
Okay.
Very misguided, and I think her opinion is designed around the very organizations that are in that body,
right,
that are benefiting off of people not getting paid fair wages.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
So,
Okay.
I mean, by keeping them on a rupee salary, you're saying they're not getting what they deserve?
Well, look, it's not even just the rupee salary, right? Make salaries public.
Right, okay.
I don't necessarily care about what currency people are paid in.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, currency is a currency.
Yeah,
It'll go up,
correct.
it'll go down, it's
Yeah.
fine. You can pay someone in USD and pay $1. That doesn't necessarily benefit anyone.
Yeah.
Here's what happened. And if you look at the current stock exchange, look at all the Sri Lankan companies and the earnings reports that they have shared. All of these companies that are exporters decided to not pay their employees. Suddenly their net profit margins went from 10-15% to 30%.
Yes.
They made an absolute killing.
Yeah.
I won't be able to sleep at night if I did that.
Right.
We see this as a very, very straightforward opportunity. We bill in a specific currency.
Yeah.
To this time, these organizations have, including ours,
Right.
have been benefiting off of that forex gain.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's okay. Like
Right.
everyone was aware of that. Everyone was paid in LKR. We billed in USD. It was fine. There was a certain spread that was allowed. After the rupee fell from 200 to 360-ish, what happened was there's a sudden giant forex gain for these organizations.
Yeah.
The net incomes went to we would have made an absolute fortune.
Yeah.
Right.
But the problem is it's not a sustainable thing to do.
Yes.
Because what she's failing to understand, I don't think she understands the end game.
Okay.
The end game is not Sri Lankan companies with USD pegged pay, or so to speak,
Yeah.
taking business away from the local players.
Right.
the world isn't divided into Sri Lankan companies that pay USD, Sri Lankan companies that pay LKR, and foreign companies that pay USD.
Right.
We are all fighting in the same battle.
Right.
Talent is global.
Right.
The clients we work with around the world, just like they work with us as organizations, talent gets hired
Of course.
in USD. And if you are radically underpaying talent, talent will leave the entire industry. And we're not worried about companies, employees at Surge moving to SLASSCOM companies. We want to make sure that we are globally competitive.
Of course.
Because we are in a global marketplace.
Yeah. Right.
It is very straightforward.
Yeah.
And my argument to SLASSCOM is, look, if you think, like, I'm sorry, but the time-based rupee it makes no sense. Forget allowances, forget all of these things.
Yeah.
This is something that Sri Lankans are absolutely terrible in. We have built a culture of, like, back in the old days where you have these benevolent dictators that like, oh, I'll give you some rice, you need to farm my paddy for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
What in reality it is, it's basically a system designed to oppress people.
Yeah, absolutely.
They
Completely.
make a fortune and they actively keep pay hidden.
Yeah.
Like, we encourage people to talk about pay within the organization because you should.
Right.
And sometimes we may be the best payers. That's fine.
Right.
But people have the right to know what other people are getting paid. Because the whole point of discrimination, all of these issues arise from that single fact. There is no transparency in pay.
Correct.
If you want to pay in USD, if you want to pay in LKR, I don't have an issue.
Yeah.
But the problem is, when these organizations suddenly double their bottom lines, they don't like the audacity to say, oh, we should give them an allowance because our net margins doubled for doing absolutely nothing.
Absolutely. Because of
It's
the forex.
laughable.
Yeah. Correct. So
Very interesting.
Yeah, that's a
take.
super take on it.
Fantastic take on that. Yeah.
And Bhanuka, what I want to ask is, like, you deal in dollars, right?
Yes.
Because obviously
we deal in multiple currencies.
Yeah, correct. I'm saying foreign currency. So now, how difficult is it for you to get your hands on your own earnings coming through the banking system?
Look, current regulation, I can't withdraw my USD as USD and walk around with it.
Right.
Yeah. Obviously, that's a part of the issue. When
Can't
we
do a little Wolf of Wall Street and just like,
it'd be tricky. At this size, it'd be very tricky.
At least eyebrows raised.
So, what we do is we have the Surge process is like, we're very, very, if you ever noticed, the company is very transparent, right? What we do is we convert to LKR at a certain date. We pay it twice a month because of the fluctuations in the currency. Just like most US companies, you pay on the 15th and the 30th of the month. Yeah. And then what we do is the bank writes an email to us saying, hey, this set of funds was converted at this price point. We don't peg to the dollar.
Right. Got it. So it's fluid.
No, we just pay in USD equivalent.
At the day's rate.
So when we put up a job description, if you go to surge.global/careers and go through every job, there is a minimum and maximum salary for each job.
Right.
And each one of those are in USD.
Okay.
So if your developer is getting paid, like we say, hey, we're hiring a software engineer between $1,000 to $2,000.
Yeah.
That they get to decide whether they want to get paid in LKR or in USD. If they want to get paid in USD, we will issue a contract in USD. When this happened, a lot of companies were talking smack about us, saying that, oh, this is illegal, IRD doesn't allow this, or Employment Board doesn't allow this.
This is what we want to talk about.
Exactly.
So we called them.
Right.
So we said, hey, look, we want to pay people more. Why are people making rumors saying that the Labor Department is not okay with it?
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? Like, to all the things we say about the Labor Department, they were ridiculously helpful.
Oh, right.
Labor Department said, look, we are looking after the benefit of the employees.
Right.
If you are telling me that you're trying to double people's salary, we're not going to object to it.
Why would they?
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as we see that actually happening, we're fine with it. All you need to do is stipulate a minimum in LKR that it will not go under
that. Okay.
So that the EPF and ETF payments do not radically fluctuate.
Right.
As long as you are paying more than that number, you're fine.
Absolutely.
So we have an arbitrary LKR number so that if they sometime assume like, look, if the US dollar somehow hits 100 rupees, then
Yeah.
they'll lose money.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not going to be there. So
Sure,
there's a bare minimum that you always go home with in LKR.
Yeah, sure. If the US dollar falls below thresholds, right?
But who calculates now? You how many people? 400 people,
Yes.
right? So I mean, your accountants must be going absolutely nuts trying to calculate EPF, ETF.
No, we built the tech that does it.
Wow.
There you go.
So
Okay, there we are.